Jack Morrison stood on the bridge of the New Horizon, watching the stars through the main window. His gray hair was cut short, and his face showed the lines of a man who had seen too many battles. At 55, he had been fighting in space for over 30 years. The coffee in his metal cup had gone cold hours ago, but he still held it like an old friend. The ship around him was not pretty. The New Horizon had started life as an exploration vessel, but years of combat had changed. Her extra armor plates covered her hull like scars. Her weapon systems were older models, but they worked. Most importantly, she had a crew that trusted their captain completely. Amy Parker sat at the communications station, her fingers dancing over the controls. She was 28 years old with short blonde hair and quick green eyes. She had been with Morrison for 3 years, and she knew how to read the patterns in space chatter better than anyone. "Captain," Amy said, turning in her chair, "we're getting a priority transmission from Earth Command. It's marked urgent." Morrison walked over to her station. His boots made soft sounds on the metal floor. "Put it through to my ready room. And, Amy, make sure we're recording everything." "Yes, sir." Morrison's ready room was small and simple. A desk, 2 chairs, and a wall screen. No decorations except for a picture of his daughter back on Earth. He had not seen her in 2 years. The screen lit up with the face of Admiral Collins, a woman with steel gray hair and tired eyes. "Jack," she said without greeting, "we have a problem. The Galactic Council has issued a formal complaint against humanity. They want you to appear before them within 7 days." Morrison sat back in his chair. "What's the charge?" "Aggressive expansion and violation of established territorial boundaries. The Zephyrians are claiming that our colonies in the Outer Rim are on their ancestral hunting grounds." "Ancestral hunting grounds?" Morrison's voice was flat. "Admiral, no Zephyrian has been in that sector for over 300 years. We checked the records." "I know that, Jack. You know that. But the Council doesn't seem to care about facts right now. They want humanity to back down, and they're using the Zephyrians as their excuse?" Morrison stood up and walked to the small window in his ready room. Outside, the stars looked the same as always, cold and distant. What do they really want? They want to test us, see if we'll fold under pressure. The Council has been nervous about human expansion for years. We've established more colonies in the last decade than most species do in a century. They think we're getting too big, too fast. "And if we don't back down?" Admiral Collins was quiet for a moment. "Then we'll find out what happens when you say no to the Galactic Council." "Jack, they're not just asking for you to appear. They're demanding it, and they want only a small escort." Morrison turned back to the screen. "They want to make sure we can't fight back. That's the idea. Jack, I'm going to be straight with you. Earth Command thinks we should give them what they want. Abandon the colonies, pay some kind of fine, and hope they leave us alone. And what do you think, Admiral?" Collins smiled for the first time in the conversation. "I think they picked the wrong human to intimidate. You're not going to back down, are you?" "No, ma'am, I'm not." After the transmission ended, Morrison called his senior staff to the briefing room. The room was as plain as the rest of the ship, with a long table and chairs around it. Ben Carter, his tactical officer, arrived first. He was a young man with dark hair and quick hands who had learned to fight in the asteroid belt wars. Dr. Lisa Grant came next, carrying a tablet full of data. She was the ship's xenobiologist, a woman in her 40s who knew more about alien species than anyone Morrison had ever met. Pete Johnson, the navigator, arrived with Kelly Brooks, the chief engineer. Pete was an older man with calm eyes who could plot a course through the worst space storms. Kelly was younger, with red hair and grease under her fingernails. She could make the ship do things that the original designers never imagined. Sam Rogers, the medical officer, came last. He was a quiet man who had served with Morrison for over 10 years. He said little, but when he spoke, everyone listened. Morrison told them about the Council's demands. He watched their faces as he explained the charges and the timeline. No one looked surprised. They had all been expecting something like this. "So what do we do, Captain?" Ben asked. "We're going to the Council station, but we're not going to apologize. Lisa leaned forward. Jack, you need to understand what we're dealing with. The Zephyrians are not just another alien species. They're warriors. Their entire culture is based on strength and dominance. To them, any species that expands into territory they once claimed is issuing a challenge. And the Council? The Council is old. Most of the member species have been in space for thousands of years. They're comfortable with the way things are. Humans have been in space for less than 2 centuries, and we're already establishing colonies faster than anyone expected. They see us as disruptive, Kelly spoke up. Captain, if we're going to face the Council, we need to be ready for anything. The New Horizon is tough, but she's not a warship. Can you make her one? Kelly grinned. Give me a week, and I'll give you surprises that will make the aliens think twice. Pete studied the star charts on his tablet. The Council station is in the neutral zone. Getting there will take us through 3 different species territories. If they don't want us to arrive, they have plenty of chances to stop us. They'll let us through, Morrison said. They want this confrontation. They think they can intimidate us. Sam finally spoke. Jack, what if they're right? What if we can't stand up to the entire Galactic Council? Morrison looked around the table at his crew. These people had followed him through battles that should have killed them all. They had faced impossible odds before and survived through teamwork and determination. Sam, I've been thinking about that. The Council expects us to act like every other species they've dealt with. They expect us to see their big fleet and surrender. But we're not like other species. What do you mean? Amy asked. Humans don't quit. We never have. When things get bad, we don't give up. We get creative, we find another way. The Council is about to learn that lesson. Morrison stood up. Kelly, I want you to start working on those modifications. Then I need you to study everything we have on Council military doctrine. Lisa, I want to know the psychological profile of every species we're going to face. Pete, plot us a course to the Council station, but I want alternatives in case we need to leave quickly. What about communications? Amy asked. Amy, I want you to set up a way to broadcast to every human colony and ship in the galaxy. If this goes bad, I want everyone to know what happened. As his crew left to prepare, Morrison stayed in the briefing room. He looked out the window at the stars again. Somewhere out there, the most powerful fleet in the galaxy was preparing to meet him. They thought they knew what humans were like. They thought they could force humanity to submit. Morrison smiled grimly. They were about to learn that humans had a reputation for being stubborn for a reason. When pushed into a corner, humans didn't surrender. They fought back with everything they had. The New Horizon began to change course, heading toward the Council station. In the engine room, Kelly was already pulling apart systems and putting them back together in new ways. On the bridge, Ben was studying alien battle tactics. Throughout the ship, the crew prepared for what might be the most important mission. In human history, Morrison returned to his ready room and looked at the picture of his daughter. He was fighting for her future and for the future of every human in the galaxy. The Galactic Council was about to meet Jack Morrison, and they were going to learn why humans never quit. The Council station appeared on the main screen like a metal mountain floating in space. Morrison had seen pictures of it before, but seeing it in person was different. The station was massive, easily the size of a small moon. Its surface was covered with docking bays, communication arrays, and weapon systems that could destroy entire fleets. But it was not the station that made Morrison's crew stare in silence. It was the ships surrounding it. Captain, Pete Johnson said quietly from the navigation station, I'm counting over 800 vessels in formation around the station. Morrison nodded. He had expected this. The Council wanted to make sure he understood the situation. This was not a negotiation. This was a show of force. Amy Parker's voice came from the communications station. Sir, we're being hailed by the station. They're directing us to Docking Bay 7. Take us in, Pete. The New Horizon moved slowly through the massive fleet. Morrison watched as they passed ships from 12 different species. There were the sleek silver vessels of the Altarians, with their curved hulls and energy weapons. The dark, angular ships of the Vorthan Empire bristled with missile launchers. The biomechanical cruisers of the Zephyrians looked like living creatures made of metal and flesh. "They're all watching us," Ben Carter said from the tactical station. "Every ship has its sensors locked on us." "Let them watch," Morrison replied. "Amy, are you recording all of this?" "Yes, sir. Everything is being transmitted back to Earth Command and logged in our system." The docking bay was large enough to hold 50 ships the size of the New Horizon. As they landed, Morrison could see alien security forces taking positions around their ship. The message was clear: they were not welcome guests. They were prisoners. Morrison selected a small team to accompany him to the council chambers. He chose Ben Carter for tactical assessment, Dr. Lisa Grant for her knowledge of alien psychology, and Captain Ryan Webb, his diplomatic aide Amy Parker, would stay on the ship to maintain communications. The walk through the station corridors was designed to intimidate. The ceilings were high, the walls were made of black metal, and the lighting was dim. Alien guards lined the route, each one carrying weapons that could kill a human in seconds. Morrison kept his face calm, but he was memorizing every detail. Of the station's layout, the council chambers were enormous. The room was shaped like a bowl, with seats rising up in circles around a central speaking area. Hundreds of alien delegates filled the seats, representing every major species in the galaxy. The air was filled with the sounds of different languages, and the smell of alien ATMOSPHERES. At the center of the highest row of seats sat Chief Counselor Vextar. He was a member of the Kaltorian race, one of the oldest species in the galaxy. His body was made of living crystal that changed color as he moved. His face had no features that humans could recognize, but his presence filled the room with authority. To his right sat Admiral Zixthal of the Zephyrian Empire. Morrison had studied files on this being for hours. The admiral was over 8 feet tall, with a body that was part organic and part machine. His skin was gray metal, but his eyes were alive, with intelligence and anger. Biomechanical tentacles moved constantly around his head, connecting him to data streams and weapon systems. Morrison and his team were directed to a small platform in the center of the chamber. They stood alone, surrounded by hundreds of alien eyes. The silence was complete. Chief Counselor Vextar began to speak. His voice was translated by the chamber's systems into perfect English. "We are here to address the crimes of the human species. You have been accused of aggressive expansion, violation of territorial boundaries, and disruption of galactic peace." A holographic display appeared above the platform, showing star maps of human colonies in the outer rim. Each colony was marked with a red symbol that pulsed like a warning light. "These colonies," Vextar continued, "have been established in territory that belongs to the Zephyrian Empire. This is a violation of the Galactic Peace Accords and cannot be tolerated." Captain Ryan Webb stepped forward. "Honored Counselor, we have brought documentation that proves these worlds were unclaimed when human colonists arrived. No Zephyrian has visited these systems in over 3 centuries. Admiral Zixthal rose from his seat. When he spoke, his voice was like metal grinding against metal. "The Zephyrian Empire claims all worlds that our ancestors once hunted. Time does not diminish our rights. These humans have invaded our territory and must be punished." Ryan tried to respond, but Vextar raised a crystal hand for silence. "The documentation you speak of is irrelevant. The Zephyrian Empire has made their claim, and the Council supports their position." Morrison watched the faces of the other delegates. Some looked bored, as if this was a routine matter. Others seemed uncomfortable, but none spoke up for humanity. Dr. Grant had been right. The Council was not interested in justice. They were interested in maintaining their control. "The human species will immediately withdraw from all disputed territories," Vextar announced. "You will pay reparations to the Zephyrian Empire for the use of their worlds, and you will submit all future expansion plans to this council for approval." A murmur went through the chamber. Morrison realized that this was about more than just the colonies. The council was trying to put humanity under their direct control. Admiral Zixthal stood again. "Furthermore, human military activities will be monitored by Zephyrian forces. Any resistance to these terms will be considered an act of war against the entire Galactic Council. Morrison felt Ben Carter tense beside him. The tactical officer's hand moved slightly toward his weapon, but Morrison shook his head. This was not the time for violence. The Council has spoken, Vextar said. Do you accept these terms? Morrison looked around the chamber one more time. 800 ships waited outside. Thousands of alien warriors were ready to enforce the Council's will. Any reasonable person would surrender. Any logical leader would accept the terms and hope. For mercy, Morrison stepped forward. His voice was calm and clear. No, the word echoed through the chamber. Conversation stopped. Delegates leaned forward in their seats. Even the crystal formations on Vextar S' body seemed to freeze. I'm sorry, Vextar said, his voice showing surprise for the first time. Did you say no? That's correct. Humanity respectfully declines. Your demands. Admiral Zixthal S' biomechanical tentacles writhed with anger. You cannot refuse the will of the Council. Look around you, human. See the power arrayed against your pathetic species. Morrison did look around. He saw the representatives of a dozen species, all of them more advanced than humanity. He saw the symbols of fleets that could destroy human civilization. He saw the weight of galactic authority pressing down on him. I see it, Morrison said, and humanity still says no. The chamber erupted in shocked voices. Delegates spoke rapidly in their own languages. Some seemed angry, others confused. In thousands of years of galactic history, no species had ever directly refused a unanimous council decision. Vextar S' crystal body flashed with dark colors. You do not understand what you are doing. The combined fleets of the Galactic Council have never been defeated. Your species numbers in the billions, we number in the trillions. I understand perfectly, Morrison replied. You're telling us to give up our homes, our freedom, and our future. You're asking us to become your servants? And I'm telling you that humans don't surrender. Admiral Zixthal descended from his seat, his massive form towering over the platform. Then you have chosen war, human. You have 24 hours to reconsider. If you do not comply, your species will face the consequences. Morrison looked up at the Admiral without flinching. We'll be ready. Dr. Grant touched Morrison's arm. It was time to leave. The three humans walked out of the chamber in silence, while hundreds of alien voices rose behind them. As they moved through the corridors, Morrison could hear the sounds of fleet communications. Ships were already moving into attack positions back on the New Horizon. Amy Parker was monitoring communications from the alien fleet. Captain, they're not even trying to hide their preparations. I'm reading movement orders for over 600 vessels. Morrison sat in his command chair and looked out at the stars. Somewhere out there, the largest fleet in galactic history was preparing to destroy humanity. They thought they knew what humans were like. They thought they could force humanity to submit with overwhelming power. Amy, open a channel to all human colonies and vessels. It's time to let our people know what's coming. Morrison was about to teach the Galactic Council a lesson they would never forget. Humans didn't quit when things got difficult. They fought back with everything they had. The New Horizon moved away from the Council station slowly, like a small fish swimming away from a pack of sharks. Morrison stood on the bridge, watching the alien fleet through the main screen. The ships were already changing formation, moving from a display of power to an attack formation. Captain, Pete Johnson said from the navigation station, we're clear of the station's defensive grid. Where do you want me to take us? Edge of the system. We need room to maneuver. Amy Parker looked up from her communications station. Sir? I'm picking up fleet communications. They're coordinating attack patterns. It looks like they plan to surround us. Morrison nodded. He had expected this. The aliens thought they were dealing with a typical space battle. They would use their superior numbers and firepower to force a quick surrender. They had done it hundreds of times before with other species. How long do we have? He asked. Ben Carter checked his tactical display. About 2 hours before they're in optimal attack position. Captain, I have to ask, what's the plan? We're one ship against 800. Morrison walked to the center of the bridge. His crew was watching him, waiting for orders. These people had followed him through impossible battles before, but this was different. This time, they were facing the combined might of the entire galaxy. Ben, bring up the tactical display. Show me everything we know about their fleet composition. The main screen changed to show a detailed breakdown of the alien forces. Morrison studied the information carefully. The Zephyrian dreadnoughts were the largest ships, each one carrying enough firepower to destroy a small planet. The Altarian cruisers were faster and more maneuverable. The Vorthan destroyers specialized in missile attacks. They're organized by species, Morrison said. Each group of ships fights the way their people have always fought. The Zephyrians prefer direct assault. The Altarians use hit-and-run tactics. The Vorthans rely on long-range bombardment. That's standard fleet doctrine, Ben replied. It's been used successfully for thousands of years. And that's their weakness. Dr. Lisa Grant looked up from her tablet. Jack, what do you mean? Morrison turned to face his crew. Lisa, you've studied these species for years. What happens when you put 12 different military doctrines together in one fleet? Lisa thought for a moment. Communication problems? Coordination issues. Each species will want to fight their own way. Exactly. They're not one fleet. They're 12 different fleets trying to work together. And we're going to use that against them. Kelly Brooks spoke up from the engineering station. Captain, I've been working on those modifications you requested. We have some surprises ready, but I need to know what kind of battle we're planning. Morrison smiled grimly. Kelly, we're not trying to win a traditional battle. We're trying to prove a point. Can you give me speed and maneuverability? I can give you both. I've rerouted power from non-essential systems to the engines. We're faster than we've ever been, but we can't maintain it for long. How long? Maybe an hour at maximum output. Morrison looked at his crew one by one. Amy, are you ready to broadcast to every human colony and ship in the galaxy? Yes, sir. I've set up a relay system. Whatever happens here, everyone will see it. Pete, I need you to plot a course that takes us through the asteroid field on the edge of the system. Can you do it? Pete Johnson grinned. Captain, I've been flying through asteroid fields since I was 20. I can thread a needle with this ship. Sam, Morrison said to the medical officer, are you ready for casualties? Sam Rogers nodded. Medical bay is prepared. I've got supplies for emergency surgery and combat injuries. Morrison took a deep breath. All right, everyone, here's what we're going to do. The aliens expect us to run or surrender. Instead, we're going to attack. Ben Carter stared at him. Sir, with respect, that's suicide. We can't fight 800 ships. We're not going to fight 800 ships. We're going to make them fight each other. Morrison walked to the tactical display and pointed to the alien formation. Look at how they're arranged. The Zephyrians are in the center because they consider themselves the most important. The other species are arranged around them in order of their political importance. That's normal fleet hierarchy, Ben said. Right. And if we attack the center, what happens? Ben studied the display. The outer ships would have to move through the inner formations to engage us. But that would cause ... confusion, collision risks. Communication problems? Ben, these species have been allies for centuries, but they've never really fought together. They've always just overwhelmed their enemies with superior numbers. Dr. Grant looked at the display with new understanding. Jack, you're talking about using their own organization against them. If we can create chaos in their formation ... they'll start making mistakes. And humans are very good at taking advantage of mistakes. Morrison returned to his command chair. Amy, open a channel 2. Earth Command, priority encryption. The screen showed Admiral Collins again. She looked tired, but her eyes were sharp. Jack, what's your status? We're about to engage the Council fleet. Admiral, I need you to send a message to every human colony and ship in the galaxy. Tell them what's happening here. Tell them that we're not fighting for territory or resources. We're fighting for the right to exist as a free species. Jack, are you sure about this? Maybe we should consider negotiating. Morrison shook his head. Admiral, there's nothing to negotiate. They want us to surrender our independence. That's not going to happen. What do you need from us? Just make sure everyone knows what we're doing and why. If this goes badly, I want the galaxy to understand that humans don't quit. After the transmission ended, Morrison called his crew. Together one more time. Listen carefully. What we're about to do is dangerous. Some of us might not survive. But we're not just fighting for ourselves. We're fighting for every human who will ever live among the stars. Kelly Brooks raised her hand. Captain, I've got one more modification ready. It's experimental and it might not work. What is it? I've been working on a way to overload our shield generators. If we time it right, we can create an energy pulse that will disrupt their sensors and communications. How big a pulse? Big enough to affect ships within a 50-kilometer radius. But sir, it will drain our power systems completely. We'll be defenseless for at least 10 minutes. Morrison considered this. How many times can we do it? Once, maybe twice if we're lucky. That might be enough. Ben, I want you to identify the fleet's command ships. If we can disrupt their communications at the right moment, they'll have to rely on individual ship commanders. Captain, that could work. It would take time for them to re-establish coordination. Pete. Johnson looked up from his navigation display. Captain, the asteroid field is dense. If we can get them to follow us in there, their larger ships will have trouble maneuvering. Morrison stood up. All right, everyone, we have a plan. It's not a good plan, but it's our plan. Amy, start the broadcast to all human colonies. I want everyone to see what happens next. The New Horizon began to accelerate toward the asteroid field. Behind them, the alien fleet was moving into attack formation. 800 ships against one. Any reasonable person would call it hopeless, but Morrison and his crew were not reasonable people. They were humans. And humans had a long history of doing impossible things when their backs were against the wall. Amy, open a channel to the Council fleet. Channel open, sir. Morrison's voice was calm and clear. This is Captain Jack Morrison of the human vessel New Horizon. We are ready to discuss terms. There was a pause, then Admiral Zixthal's voice came through the speakers. Human, you will surrender immediately or face destruction, Morrison smiled. Admiral, you misunderstand. We're not here to surrender, we're here to fight. Come and take. U.S. if you can. The alien fleet began to move. 800 ships, representing the finest military technology in the galaxy, advanced on the small human vessel. They expected an easy victory. They were about to learn that humans never make anything easy. The first alien ships opened fire when the New Horizon was still 20 kilometers away from the asteroid field. Bright energy beams cut through space, missing the human ship by meters. Morrison gripped his command chair as the ship shook from near misses, evasive maneuvers, he ordered. Kelly, give me everything the engines have. The New Horizon suddenly accelerated, moving faster than any exploration ship should be able to move. The alien gunners had been aiming where they expected. The ship to be, not where it actually went. Their shots hit empty space. Nice work, Kelly, Morrison said. How long can we maintain this speed? 45 minutes, maybe 50 if we're lucky, Kelly replied from the engineering station. Pete Johnson's hands moved quickly over his controls, guiding the ship between asteroids the size of buildings. The alien fleet followed, but their larger ships had to slow down to avoid collisions. The tight formation they had maintained began to spread out. Ben, target the Zephyrian command ship. Give them something to think about. The New Horizon's weapons fired, not at the massive dreadnought's armor, but at its communication arrays. The shots were precise, damaging the external sensors that the ship used to coordinate with the rest of the fleet. Admiral Zixthal's voice came over the communication system, filled with rage. Impossible. How can one small ship move so quickly? Morrison smiled. Amy, reply to the Admiral. Tell him he's about to learn what humans can do when we're angry. The chase continued deeper into the asteroid field. The alien fleet was strung. Out now, with the faster ships pulling ahead and the slower ones falling behind. Morrison watched his tactical display as the neat formation dissolved into chaos. "Captain," Ben reported, "the Altarian cruisers are trying to flank us. They're moving around the asteroid field to cut off our escape route." "Good, that's exactly what I want them to do." "Pete, take us deeper into the field. Head for that cluster of large asteroids at coordinates 4-7-Mark-8. The New Horizon dove between asteroids, using them as cover from the alien weapons. Behind them, the Zephyrian dreadnoughts were having trouble following. Their massive size made them slow and clumsy in the tight spaces. "Kelly, are you ready? With that shield pulse?" "Ready when you are, Captain. But remember, once I do this, we'll be sitting ducks for 10 minutes. Morrison watched as more alien ships entered the asteroid field. They were bunching up, trying to maintain formation in the tight space. It was exactly what he had hoped for. "Now, Kelly, hit them with everything we have." The New Horizon's shield generators overloaded in a brilliant flash of energy. The pulse spread out in all directions, washing over the nearest alien ships. Their sensors went dark, their communications failed, and their navigation systems crashed. In the sudden darkness, the alien ships began to drift. Some tried to restart their systems. Others fired blindly, hoping to hit the human ship. A few of them fired at each other by mistake. "Ben, target the asteroids near the Vorthan destroyers. I want to create a debris field." The New Horizons weapons fired at the space rocks, breaking them into thousands of smaller pieces. The debris spread out like a cloud, forcing the alien ships to change course or risk damage to their hulls. "Captain," Amy called out, "I'm picking up confused chatter from the alien fleet. They're asking each other for position reports. Some of them are requesting new orders." Morrison nodded. The alien fleet was used to fighting in open space with perfect communication and coordination. In the asteroid field, with their sensors damaged and their formation broken, they were struggling to adapt, but the aliens were not helpless. As their systems came back online, they began to reorganize. The Altarian cruisers used their speed to surround the human ship. The Zephyrian dreadnoughts moved to block the exits from the asteroid field. "We're surrounded," Ben reported. "The Altarians are closing in from 3 directions." Morrison studied his tactical display. The alien ships were moving with purpose now, using tactics that had worked for them for thousands of years. But Morrison had studied those tactics. He knew what they would do next. "Pete, prepare for emergency acceleration. When I give the word, I want you to head straight for the largest Zephyrian ship." "Sir, that's suicide. Their armor will crush." "Yes, trust me, Pete." "Kelly, can you give me one more trick?" Kelly's hands moved over her controls. "I can overload the forward deflector array. It will create a temporary hole in their shields, but it will destroy our own deflector system." "Do it, and Amy, make sure our broadcast is still active. I want everyone to see this." The New Horizon suddenly changed direction, heading straight for the massive Zephyrian dreadnought. The alien ship's weapons fired, but Morrison's ship was moving too fast and too unpredictably. Energy beams scorched the asteroids around them. At the last moment, Kelly activated the deflector overload. A beam of pure energy shot out from the New Horizon, punching through the dreadnought's shields. The beam hit the alien ship's main weapon array, causing explosions that lit up the asteroid field. The New Horizon passed within meters of the massive ship's hull, so close that Morrison could see alien crew members through the windows. Then they were past, racing toward the edge of the asteroid field. "Damage report," Morrison called out. "Forward deflectors are gone," Kelly reported. "Engines are running hot, but still functional. We can't do that again." Behind them, the alien fleet was in chaos. The Zephyrian dreadnought was listing to one side, its main weapons offline. Other ships were trying to pursue the New Horizon, but they were getting in each other's way. "Captain," Amy said, "I'm detecting new ships entering the system. Human ships." Morrison looked at the tactical display. Small dots were appearing at the edge of the system, moving toward the battle. They were not military vessels. They were Cargo ships, mining vessels, exploration ships, and civilian transports. Ships from dozens of human colonies. How many? Morrison asked. 50 ships so far, with more arriving every minute. Morrison felt a surge of pride. These were not trained soldiers. They were ordinary humans who had heard about the battle and decided to help. Farmers, miners, traders, and families. People who had never fired a shot in anger, but who refused to let one ship fight alone. Amy, open a channel to all human vessels. Channel open, sir. This is Captain Morrison. I want all civilian ships to stay at the edge of the system. This is not your fight. A voice came back over the radio, speaking with a thick accent from the outer colonies. Captain, this is the cargo ship Liberty. We didn't come here to watch. We came here to help. Other voices joined in. Mining ship Thunder standing by. Transport vessel Hope ready for orders. Survey ship Explorer reporting for duty. Morrison felt his throat tighten with emotion. These people had no business being in a battle zone. They had families to think about, lives to protect. But they had come anyway, because humans looked after each other. All human vessels maintain current position. If things go badly, get out of here and tell the galaxy what happened. The alien fleet was reorganizing again. They had taken damage, but they still outnumbered the humans by a huge margin. Admiral Zixthal's voice came over the communication system, colder than before. Human Morrison, you have shown courage, but courage is not enough. Surrender now, and we will make your deaths quick. Morrison looked around his bridge at his crew. They were tired, their ship was damaged, and they were still hopelessly outnumbered, but none of them looked ready to give up. Admiral, Morrison replied, you still don't understand. Humans don't surrender. We never have, and we never will. If you want to finish this, come and try. The alien fleet began its final approach. 800 ships against one damaged human vessel and a handful of civilian craft. By every measure of military strategy, the battle was over, but Admiral Zixtal was about to learn that humans had never been very good at following the rules of military strategy. The alien fleet moved forward like a wall of metal and fire. 800 ships in perfect formation, their weapons charging for what should have been the final attack. Morrison watched them approach on his tactical display, counting the seconds. Until they would be in firing range. Then something unexpected happened. A new voice came over the communication system. It was not Admiral Zixtal or any of the other military commanders. It was Chief Counselor Vextar himself. All ships, cease fire. I repeat, all ships cease fire immediately. The alien fleet stopped moving. Confused voices filled the radio channels. As ship commanders asked for clarification, Admiral Zixthal's voice cut through the chatter filled with anger. Counselor, we are moments away from victory. The human ship is damaged and outnumbered. Why are you stopping the attack? Morrison looked at Amy Parker. She was monitoring all the alien communications, her face showing surprise. Captain, the Counselor is overriding the Admiral's authority. I've never seen anything like this. Chief Counselor Vextar's crystal voice came through the speakers again. Admiral, you will stand down. I am ordering an immediate ceasefire. But why? Admiral Zixtal demanded. There was a long pause before Vextar answered. Because they have already won. Morrison felt the blood drain from his face. Had the aliens found a way to attack Earth? Had other human colonies been destroyed while he was fighting here? Amy, get me a direct channel to the Chief Counselor. Channel open, sir. Chief Counselor, this is Captain Morrison. What do you mean we have already won? Vextar's answer surprised everyone on the bridge. Captain Morrison, for the past 2 hours, your battle has been broadcast to every inhabited world in the galaxy. Billions of beings have watched one human ship fight 800 of our finest vessels. They have seen your ship damaged but still fighting. They have seen your civilian ships arrive to help, even though they have no weapons. Morrison did not understand. Sir, I don't see how that means we've won. Captain, do you know how most species react when faced with overwhelming force? Morrison thought about it. They surrender, exactly. They calculate the odds, realize they cannot win, and submit to superior power. It is logical. It is rational. It is what every species in this galaxy has done for thousands of years. The counselor paused, and Morrison could hear other voices in the background. The entire Galactic Council was listening to this conversation. But you did not surrender. Your ship is damaged, your weapons are inferior, and you are outnumbered 800 to 1. Any rational being would have given up hours ago. Instead, you fought harder. Your civilian ships came to help, knowing they would probably die. This is not logical behavior. Dr. Lisa Grant leaned forward at her station. Captain, I think I understand what he's saying. Morrison nodded for her to continue. The Galactic Council's authority has always been based on the idea that superior force equals superior right. Species submit to them because they have the biggest fleet and the most advanced technology. But we just proved that force doesn't always win. Chief Counselor Vexstar's voice came through the speakers again. Your xenobiologist is correct, Captain. For thousands of years, the Galactic Council has maintained peace through strength. Species accept our authority because they believe we are invincible. And now? Morrison asked. Now they have seen one small human ship fight our entire fleet. To a standstill. They have seen humans refuse to surrender even when facing impossible odds. Captain Morrison, you have not just challenged our military might. You have challenged the entire foundation of our authority. Admiral Zixthal's voice cut in, filled with rage. One battle does not determine the outcome of a war. We still have 800 ships. They have one damaged vessel. Admiral, Vexstar replied, you are missing the point. This was never about military victory. This was about demonstrating that humans can be intimidated into submission. Captain Morrison has proven that they cannot. Morrison looked around his bridge. His crew was listening to every word, their faces showing a mixture of exhaustion and hope. They had survived the impossible, but they still did not know what came next. Chief Counselor, Morrison said, what happens now? There was another long pause. Morrison could hear heated discussions in the background. When Vexstar spoke again, his voice sounded tired. Captain, the Galactic Council is currently in emergency session. The broadcast of your battle has caused reactions throughout the galaxy. Some species are demanding to know why we attacked humans without provocation. Others are asking whether the Council's authority is absolute. Ben Carter looked up from his tactical station. Captain, the alien fleet is backing away from us. They're moving to defensive positions around the Council station. Morrison nodded. The political situation was changing rapidly, and the military commanders were unsure what to do. Captain Morrison, Vexstar continued, I am prepared to offer you new terms. Humanity will withdraw from the disputed colonies, but you will be granted full council membership and the right to participate in all galactic decisions. Morrison felt anger rise in his chest. You're still asking us to give up our homes. Captain, it is the best offer I can make. The Zephyrian Empire will not accept human colonies in what they consider their territory. Admiral Zixthal's voice came over the radio again. The Zephyrian Empire demands justice. These humans have invaded our space and attacked our ships. Morrison had heard enough. Admiral, let me ask you something. How many Zephyrians have died in this battle? There was a pause. No Zephyrian lives have been lost. How many of your ships have been destroyed? Another pause. None have been destroyed. Then what justice are you demanding? We defended ourselves against your attack. We never invaded your territory. We established colonies on worlds that had been empty for 3 centuries. Dr. Grant spoke up. Captain, may I address the Admiral? Morrison nodded. Go ahead, Lisa. Admiral Zixthal, I have studied your species' history and culture. The Zephyrian Empire was built on the principle of strength through conquest. You respect only those who can match your power in battle. This is true, the Admiral replied. Then, by your own cultural standards, haven't the humans earned the right to those colonies? We fought your entire fleet and survived. We proved our strength. There was a long silence. Morrison realized that Dr. Grant had found a way to use the Zephyrians' own beliefs against them. When Admiral Zixtel finally spoke, his voice was different, less angry, more thoughtful. The human speaks with wisdom. By the old laws of combat, those who can hold territory have the right to claim it. Admiral, Chief Counselor Vextar's voice showed surprise. Are you changing your position? I am recognizing reality, Counselor. These humans have proven they cannot be defeated by force. The Zephyrian Empire respects strength, and they have shown strength. Morrison felt hope beginning to grow. Admiral, are you saying you'll withdraw your claim to the colonies? I'm saying that the Zephyrian Empire recognizes human strength. The colonies may remain under human control. The communication channels erupted with voices as other species reacted to this announcement. Some seemed relieved, others confused. Chief Counselor Vextar tried to restore order. If the Zephyrian Empire withdraws its claim, Vextar said slowly, then there is no legal basis for the Council's demands. Morrison stood up from his command chair. Chief Counselor, humanity never wanted to fight the Galactic Council. We just wanted the right to exist and grow according to our own values. We're willing to work with the Council as equals, but we won't be anyone's servants. There was more discussion in the background, then Vextar spoke again. Captain Morrison, the Galactic Council formally withdraws all demands against humanity. Your colonies will remain under human control. Furthermore, I am prepared to offer humanity full Council membership with all the rights and responsibilities that entails. Amy Parker looked up from her communications station. Captain, the human civilian ships are requesting permission to approach. They want to escort us home, Morrison smiled. Permission granted? Tell them we're going home. As the New Horizon began its journey back to human space, Morrison thought about what they had accomplished. They had not won through superior firepower or advanced technology. They had won by refusing to quit, by standing together when things looked hopeless, and by proving that some things were worth fighting for no matter what the odds. The galaxy would never look at humanity the same way again. They had earned something more valuable than territory or resources. They had earned respect, and Jack Morrison had kept his promise. He had shown the galaxy why humans never quit.